Welcome everyone to the beginning of a new IDW Sonic miniseries event, Scrapnik Island. Unlike previous miniseries, which focused on comic exclusive characters, this one stars not only game characters, but Sonic and Tails themselves. Also, it's the first miniseries not penned by Ian Flynn. Instead, we get semi-newcomer Daniel Barnes. I say semi because earlier this year, he made his IDW Sonic debut in the 2022 annual. He wrote the story where E123 Omega and Gemerald beat the ever-living tar out of each other. I talked a little bit about Daniel there, that he worked on a comic series called The Black Mage, and he took some writing inspiration from Ian Flynn himself. And I think we'll get some of that influence in today's outing. But Daniel's main influence for this miniseries comes from horror movies and comics, as his goal is to, quote, tell a really creepy and atmospheric story with a vibe that Sonic fans aren't normally used to. There are some surprises in this one that I don't think readers are going to see coming. How appropriate then that the first issue was released during Halloween month. I mean, the covers themselves remind me of horror movie posters. To get this out of the way, there will be spoilers from this point forward regarding this issue and any information regarding to future issues. I recommend clicking away and reading this one for yourself if you don't want anything ruined. Otherwise, let's just go ahead and dive right in. Like all spooky stories, it begins on a dark and stormy night, as Sonic and Tails are struggling to fly through it. They spot a nearby landmass they could possibly land on to ride out the storm. Unfortunately, it consists of the remains of the Death Egg, the original one from Sonic 2 and Sonic 3 and Knuckles. Before they can land, lightning damages their plane's wing, and they spiral out of control. This looks familiar. Sonic wakes up in a dark room full of Batnik remains. As he gets his bearings, he discovers that someone placed a makeshift metal boot on his left leg, or rather his foot, thus neutralizing Sonic's main attribute, and I'm not comfortable with the design of this thing. Oh, I hope that's rust. He looks around for Tails, only to find a Miles Electric nearby. He picks it up to use as a flashlight and starts searching for his little buddy, unaware that some of the Batnik remains are not quite dead. As Sonic looks for Tails, someone is constantly keeping an eye on him. A red eye to be precise. Eventually, Sonic comes across a sunflower in a container. Before he can investigate further, he hears a noise coming from another room. One large enough to house the remains of the egg carrier. I assume it's the first one and not the one Perfect Chaos destroyed near the end of Sonic Adventure. Sonic finds the source of the noise, and it's coming from a damaged coconut Batnik that just happens to have the lower body of a caterpillar. More of these slapped together Batniks appear and approach Sonic. Oh, it gets worse. As Sonic backs up, he bumps into the last thing he'd ever see in a place like this. Mega Sonic 2 from Sonic 3 and Knuckles. He's looking pretty good for someone that Sonic and later Knuckles fought against. Since the events of Sonic 3 and Knuckles, he's rusted to the point that most of the blue is gone, he's gained a cloak or poncho of some kind, replaced his right arm for that of a crab meat's, and his left leg is replaced by Megabeatman's saw. Now that I think about it, his left leg has been altered just like Sonic's. Metal boot or not, Sonic tries making a run for it, but it turns out his left foot was injured in the crash. Sonic can spin dash his way out of the room, but without his speed, he can only get so far before Mecha Sonic and the junk Batniks catch him. So Sonic's best option is to hide inside an animal capsule. There's some irony for ya. Too bad Mecha Sonic finds him and opens the capsule. Luckily, Sonic uses a piece of debris from the capsule as a snowboard and speeds off. However, his brief chance to get some distance ends when an E-Series robot causes him to wipe out. Thankfully, Tails arrives beside the robot and explains the situation. The Scrapniks, as they're called, helped Tails drag Sonic inside after the crash and built that leg brace for him. The E-Series unit, who introduces himself as E117 Sigma, has some standout things design-wise besides the damaged look. He wears a scarf, has a makeshift monocle over the right eye, and his right arm has been replaced by an egg robos. That makes sense because he's based on the basic E100 series model akin to E102 Gamma, and by default, their right hand is actually a blaster. He apologizes for not only scaring Sonic, but for Sonic and Tails being here in the first place. The storm they flew through in the beginning was caused by the station's malfunctioning climate disruptor, a problem that's not fully resolved. For now though, the storm's passed, and Sigma leads them outside where he introduces them to Scrapnik Island proper. He also says that until their plane is repaired, Sonic and Tails are free to make themselves at home. Tails of course acts like a kid in a toy store. So all seems well, right? The Scrapniks are friendly and helpful, and soon Sonic and Tails will be on their way. Well, seeing Sonic again briefly causes Mecha Sonic's eye to turn red. Yeah, it seems that the Attack Sonic programming is fighting to get out. Not only that, everyone's being watched from a distance by someone who doesn't want Sonic and Tails around. Mecha Knuckles from Sonic Advance 1. What he has going on for him is, his left arm has been replaced by a spike ball, his right hand is utilizing a shovel claw, and lastly, he's wearing Knuckles' OVA hat. Where do these guys keep finding articles of clothing? I can see why this first issue was released in October. Turns out Daniel was right. It's filled with a chilling atmosphere found in horror works. The hero alone inside a haunted house, filled with ghosts and monsters from the past, having to run away and trying to hide from the bigger threat, and as a bonus, the hero suffers from some injury that prevents easy escape. The red eye invokes the old painting looking at the person cliche, and even the panels where Mecha Sonic and E117 Sigma reveal themselves invoke the freeze frame monster reveal. All it's missing is some scary chords. The art team of Jack Lawrence and Natalie Fordrain helped contribute to this spooky atmosphere, from the derelict, dilapidated look of the Death Egg interior to the designs of the Scrapniks themselves. Actually, there's a third party who helped contribute to the lesser Scrapniks, Min Ho Kim. Appearance-wise, they could give the mishmash badniks from Test Run a run for their money. Though unlike those badniks, the Scrapniks seem friendly enough, offering sanctuary to Sonic and Tails while their plane's being fixed, and treating Sonic's injury. Even though the brace looks like something Jigsaw would build, they kinda remind me of Sid's toys from Toy Story. And believe it or not, some of them even have names. First, there's Juno, a combination of a bat brain, caterpillar, and some other random badnik. Tom, a combination between a Newton, a ball hog, and a grounder. And then we have Lloyd, a combination of a big bomb, an Anton, and another random badnik. There is one more named badnik done by Thomas Rothlisberger, and it's called Nevin, a combination of a buzz bomber, a crab meat, a dragonfly, a Jaws, and a Newton. We'll get more Scrapnik reveals as the miniseries goes on. Going back to Sonic's injury, it's amusing that Sonic once again suffered an injury that's the result of a crash, and it takes away his running ability. Same leg too. Did Daniel know about Ian and Evan's plan to injure Sonic during the issue 50 aftermath? Or is it just a happy coincidence? Robbing Sonic of his speed will make things harder for him and Tails when things go down within the next 3 issues. While the tone may have appeared to have done a mood whiplash at the end, there's still a sinister vibe in the air, particularly with the 3 main robots. Mecha Sonic is obvious as he's glitching between passive and attack Sonic mode when the Hedgehog re-entered his life. He could go off at any moment. Then there's Mecha Knuckles. From what I've read online about the rest of the miniseries, he's going to act like his fleshy template and protect Scrapnik Island from unwanted visitors. Can't wait to see what kind of stunts he pulls. Then there's E117 Sigma, the most friendly of the robots. I don't trust him. I could be wrong, but it seems he's playing that horror movie character that acts all chummy and polite, only to be secretly a villain. Plus, nothing good can come from a robot named Sigma. On a personal note, I'm very happy the story continues the recent love of Sonic 3 and Knuckles material in the comics. Between visiting Marble Garden in Free Comic Book Day 2022, waltzing through Lava Reef in the 2022 annual, and now having the Death Egg and Mecha Sonic appear, it puts a smile on my face. The miniseries itself is off to a great start. There are of course some questions like, how did Eggman's discarded stuff like the Death Egg and the egg carrier wound up here? And what is the significance of the sunflower? These questions may or may not be answered in the next 3 issues, and I'm actually okay if they're not. Sometimes mysteries should remain mysteries, especially in a horror setting. We'll see what happens next time in Scrapnik Island Issue 2. Sonic discovering the sunflower in a container is reminding me of Beauty and the Beast for some reason.